We got another video.
This one, actually, this was not called. This one is Crimes of the Week. This was posted back in January, but I thought it would be a good video to watch. Oh, good God.
Representatives from the FBI's Chicago field office released a major update in a more than 12-year-old murder case this week, announcing that after all this time, the fugitive accused of an awful crime has successfully been located and placed under arrest. According to reports, the whole thing began on May 13, 2012, when the body of 26-year-old Estrella Carrera was found inside of her apartment in the Chicago suburb of Burbank. Estrella had been brutally stabbed to death, and her body had been left in the bathtub. Heartbreakingly, the 26-year-old had been married less than 48 hours earlier. She was still wearing her wedding dress at the time she was found, and police quickly turned their attention towards her new husband, a man named Arnoldo Jimenez. After launching an investigation, detectives concluded that Jimenez had stabbed Estrella to death inside of his black Maserati just hours after they left their wedding venue. He then allegedly took her body back to her apartment and dumped it where it was later found. While the search for Jimenez began quickly and photos of him were distributed as early as 2 days later, unfortunately by that time he had already gone on the run. Jimenez's name was eventually added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, where it remained until this week. That's when the now 42-year-old was found and arrested across the southern border in the city of Monterrey, Mexico. At the time of this recording, no information has been released about the motive behind the brutal murder, though the FBI have said that they have always remained committed to getting justice for Estrella Carrera and her family. Jimenez is now awaiting extradition back to Illinois, where he has been charged with first-degree murder.
Not even 48 hours she was married and she was killed. That's some crazy stuff right there.
Authorities in New York say that a now former state trooper has been arrested and is facing charges this week after he was accused of fabricating an incident last year in which he was shot while on duty, something which officials now say he actually did to himself. The whole thing started on the night of October 30th, 2024, when the man in question, 27-year-old Thomas Messia, called for help over his police radio. The then New York State Police trooper claimed that he'd been shot in the leg by an unknown gunman on Long Island's Southern State Parkway. After being treated for his injuries, Messia gave what he said were the details of what had happened. He explained that he had pulled over to help what he thought was a stranded motorist, only for the driver to get out and begin firing at him. He stated that the shooter had then driven away in the direction of New York City in a car with temporary New Jersey registration. Initially, Messia's story was believed by investigators and his fellow officers. A manhunt was launched, one that lasted several days. In the end, though, no suspect was found. Authorities now say that's because the whole thing was a lie. As the situation was investigated further, Messia's story reportedly began to crumble. While 9 shell casings were found at the scene where the 27-year-old called for help, no bullets were recovered. There was also no evidence suggesting that another vehicle had been there. On top of this, no other reports about the shooting came in from other motorists, and there was no footage of the incident because Messia had shut his body camera off. When detectives checked the GPS system on Messia's vehicle, it showed them that he had been at Hempstead Lake State Park right before driving to the section of highway where he had called for help. They now claim this is actually where he shot himself in the leg in order to stage the attack. The gun allegedly used in the crime was later located at his parents' home in West Hempstead. This week, Messia was arrested and charged with official misconduct, tampering with evidence, and falsifying documents. His parents were also charged with criminal possession of a firearm for reportedly helping to hide the weapon used in the plan. Though no official motive has been released behind the whole thing, authorities have stated they believe Messia did it to garner sympathy and attention. His lawyer appeared to somewhat endorse this theory, though claimed that the 27-year-old has been suffering from untreated mental health issues for years. That being said, it seems that police misconduct might just run in the family. According to reports, Messia's father was dismissed from the NYPD in 1993 after pleading guilty to cocaine distribution charges. While Thomas Messia had already been placed on administrative leave in November of last year, state police officials confirmed that he officially resigned from his job this week.
So people just shooting themselves for just clout? For sympathy? He just shooting himself? Me personally, I would have staged like a bear attack, like me saving like some people from a bear attack or something like that. I ain't gonna lie, like saving people from like an intruder, set a house on fire, run the house, save kids, like that would have been like better than like shooting yourself.
Authorities in Miami, Florida say that a local landlord is facing murder charges this week after he allegedly carried out a fatal and unhinged attack on his tenant because he was angry about the thermostat setting in his apartment. The whole thing unfolded at around 8 a.m. on January 25th when the suspect, 37-year-old Adam Anson, walked over to the efficiency apartment that he rented out on the property where he lived on Southwest 17 Terrace. He reportedly brought a handgun with him and began banging on the window of the apartment as soon as he got there. When the tenant, 57-year-old Carlos Alberto Gonzalez, answered the door, Anson pushed his way in. As he did, he allegedly began punching Carlos without any kind of provocation. The violence quickly escalated from there. According to police, Anson proceeded to drag Carlos out into the backyard where he shot him in the head multiple times until he was dead. He then apparently went into the apartment and adjusted the thermostat before heading back into his own house and calling 911. Upon being connected with dispatchers, Anson apparently claimed that the whole thing was self-defense. He said that Carlos attacked him and that he had been forced to shoot him in order to protect himself. Police did not buy this story after analyzing the scene, though, and now allege that Anson murdered Carlos as part of an undisclosed dispute he was having with him over the thermostat in the apartment. Anson was arrested and has now been charged with second-degree murder and burglary with assault or armed battery. He remains in custody.
So you murdered somebody over a thermostat? These people are not.
Officials from a Florida school.
They're not helping the reputation of Florida, not at all, gang.
School district have been left embarrassed and doing some serious damage control this week after a local principal and one of their teachers were arrested following a rager of a house party for underage students that they are accused of helping to host and orchestrate. According to reports, the whole thing started on the night of January 19th when authorities began receiving numerous 911 calls about an out-of-control party in the city of Cocoa Beach. Neighbors and concerned residents told police that there were dozens of what appeared to be high school-age students who were drinking, smoking, and engaged in violent and destructive behavior at a residence off of Country Club Road. Officers quickly discovered that the home in question belonged to the principal of nearby Roosevelt Elementary School, 47-year-old Elizabeth Hill Brodigan. They contacted Brodigan, who apparently made it seem like she had no idea what was going on and that she would be shutting everything down. However, over the next couple of hours, police continued to receive calls about the party, and it became clear that things were getting even more out of control. Brevard County Fire Rescue were dispatched to the scene after it was reported that a teenage boy was vomiting uncontrollably and shaking outside of the property, and there were claims that someone had been waving a gun around and pointing it at people inside. A teenage girl was also caught driving while intoxicated and dressed in clothes that reportedly coincided with the house party's white lie theme. When officers and emergency responders arrived to tend to the boy who had suffered the medical episode, they spotted Brodigan, who was clearly at the house and was apparently standing on her driveway. Upon seeing police, though, the 47-year-old principal.
Damn, what makeup can do. This woman look crazy without makeup. Whoa. Look like a demon. That was a total switch up. The hell?
Allegedly went inside and began shutting off the lights. Around this same time, authorities learned that Brodigan wasn't the only school official that was there. A 45-year-old teacher at her school, Carly Anderson, was also in attendance. She reportedly got aggressive with officers and was visibly drunk. According to police, there were more than 100 people at the house when they got there. The full story about what had happened only began to come out a few days later, though, as police began interviewing some of the students that were at the party. They claimed that not only was Brodigan okay with what had happened that night, she had helped to host and organize the gathering, and had provided alcohol to many of the underage partygoers. Additionally, students claim that parties like this happened once or twice a month. This week, Brodigan and Anderson were both arrested and charged with child neglect and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. They have also been placed on administrative leave until further notice. While nothing has been confirmed about why the women were allegedly involved in planning and throwing these parties for minors, some reports state that Brodigan's son is a high school student. As an amusing side note, Brodigan used to be a teacher herself and had previously won a Teacher of the Year award.
Ain't no way she won a Teacher of the Year award, boy. Ain't no way.
Authorities in Lawrence County, Missouri say that they're investigating a disturbing and complex case after a local woman confessed to shooting multiple people in 2 states last week, a spree of violence that was allegedly targeted at her former romantic partners. The whole thing began shortly before 2 a.m. on January 23rd when the woman in question, 31-year-old Taylor Santiago, drove to the Aurora Marionville Police Headquarters
Rihanna forehead. That is crazy.
and placed a call from the parking lot. She stated that she had just murdered her estranged husband, Troy Huffman, and that she was there to turn herself in. After taking Santiago into custody, officers made their way to her apartment where they confirmed the grisly discovery. Troy was lying dead inside of a bedroom there and had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. While this was already bad enough, Santiago still had a lot to tell investigators.
Like, look at her head. Like, you know how people say you got, like, little man syndrome or short syndrome? These people got big head syndrome. Like, god damn, bro. She had to put on a hat, cover that up. What she got charged with? 2 others shot in Arkansas, man in serious condition, woman died, first-degree murder charges.
During an interview, she reportedly confessed that there was actually another crime scene they needed to check out, except it was over the state line in Carroll County, Arkansas. Sure enough, the 31-year-old wasn't lying. When local police responded to the second scene, they found 2 other people, a man and a woman, suffering from gunshot wounds as well. The woman was pronounced dead, while the man was in critical condition. The man was later identified as Santiago's ex-boyfriend, Nathan Green, while the woman was Nathan's current girlfriend, Sophia Williams. Sophia was said to be a mother of 5 herself. In the meantime, Santiago reportedly continued to fill in the blanks for detectives. She said that she had decided she wanted to go on a killing spree as she was grabbing a cup of coffee at a local convenience store. On the evening of January 22nd, she had invited Troy Huffman over to her apartment under the pretense of spending some time with their 12-year-old son. However, when Troy arrived, Santiago allegedly told her son to cover his ears before ambushing her estranged husband with a handgun. After the first murder, Santiago explained that she stole Troy's car keys and used his vehicle to make the approximately 55-mile trip to her ex-boyfriend's place in Arkansas. She also shared a child with him, who she apparently left at the residence unharmed after gunning down Nathan and his girlfriend. As for the motive behind all of this, that hasn't been officially confirmed, though it's speculated that it has something to do with Santiago's ongoing child custody disputes with her former romantic partners. At the time of this recording, she remains in custody and has been charged with first-degree murder, robbery, unlawful use of a weapon, and endangering the welfare of a child. That's just in Missouri, though. She is also expected to face a litany of charges for her alleged crimes in Arkansas as well.
Look at her, especially when you go across state lines to do crime.
Authorities in Grand Rapids, Michigan say that a woman is facing a number of charges this week in connection with an absolutely horrifying case after she allegedly set her own home on fire while she and her 3 daughters were inside, a crime which resulted in one of the young girls' deaths. The whole thing began sometime on the evening of January 25th when emergency responders were called to the home in question on Eastern Avenue between Hall and Martin Luther King Jr. streets. Residents in the area had phoned 911 telling dispatchers that the residence was engulfed in flames. When firefighters arrived at the scene, they were met by the owner of the house, 46-year-old Raconda Singleton. The mother was reportedly just standing there on the driveway while her 3 girls, ages 12, 10, and 7, were trapped inside.
Are there any kids still in the house?
My daughter was in there, yes.
Is she still in there? Where is she? Second floor, what corner?
Luckily, the quick-thinking and heroic 10-year-old was able to get herself and her 7-year-old sister to safety by climbing through a window. She tried to go back for her other sister, 12-year-old Shemaiah, but the smoke was too thick and she couldn't breathe. The situation was difficult even for firefighters. Nearly 4 dozen were dispatched to the scene before the blaze was finally extinguished. Before that happened, they were able to rescue Shemaiah from the second-story bedroom where she had been trapped. Sadly, though, it was already too late. Shemaiah had suffered burns to 30% of her body, as well as severe smoke inhalation. She ultimately died from her injuries 2 days later. While the situation was already incredibly tragic, it quickly got a whole lot darker. Concerned by Raconda Singleton's behavior, authorities began questioning her about what had happened in the lead up to the house fire. The 46-year-old was chillingly candid. She told police, quote, "I did it. I'm not going to sit here and play like I am the victim." She allegedly went on to explain that she had doused her home all over with lighter fluid that night before setting it ablaze. She had removed all 7 smoke detectors from the home so that her daughters would not wake up until it was too late. The devices were found by emergency responders in a pillowcase in the backyard when they responded to the scene. Singleton went on to state that her intention was to, quote, "die with her 3 daughters so they could be free." This apparently tracks with what the 2 surviving victims told investigators. The 10-year-old said that when the fire broke out, her mom initially wouldn't leave, and when they finally got her out, she refused to try and help save Shemaiah. In an interview with local news, she said in part, quote, "Everybody was trying to save my mom, and she just wanted to lay down on her bed while her room was lighted up with fire, and she did not want to go, but she finally came out. She wouldn't tell where Shemaiah was, so I had to keep leading them them to my sister. She went on to state, quote, I want to say that she should be locked up for life for killing my sister. I want to know why. Why did she have to do that to her? She didn't deserve that. The why behind the crime is now something that is on many people's minds, including those of investigators. They say that while Singleton has a history of mental health issues, as well as a criminal record, neither is said to be extensive, and there was apparently no prior history of child abuse in the home. Following her arrest this week, Singleton was charged with murder, first-degree arson, and multiple counts of child abuse. The situation is still under investigation.
Man, give her the death penalty, man. Give her the death penalty. Why is she still doing Real talk. Why is she still doing it? Just give her the death penalty. She don't want to be here. Set her free. Let her go. Give her the death penalty. I ain't got no sympathy for her trying to act like she over here talking about something. I'm gonna let them set them free. Don't worry, you gonna be free. They're gonna give you a death penalty. I don't think they give them a death penalty in that state, but don't worry.
A jilted Florida woman bent on revenge against her ex-husband instead ended up giving them both a different kind of night to remember last week after she was allegedly caught on camera using a commemorative token from their first date together to try and destroy his property. According to reports, it all started shortly before 11 p.m. on January 24th when police were called by the male victim. The man stated his ex-wife, 34-year-old Sabrina Coyne, had shown up at his Bonita Springs home unannounced, had smashed one of his windows, and was banging on the door and demanding to be let in. When officers arrived, they found Coyne still standing at the door. Body cam footage captured part of the resulting exchange between them, in which Coyne insisted that she lived at the home and that her ex-husband wouldn't let her inside.
What's going on? You're the one banging on here?
Yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with my ex-husband.
Were you banging on the doors all along?
I banged on the door because he won't let me in.
You live here or no?
Stuff. Yes.
Or you used to?
I live here.
Of course, Coyne did not live in this house, but that was apparently one of the smaller lies she told that night. What caught police more off guard was when the 34-year-old repeatedly denied smashing a window at the property. This was despite the fact that not only was she caught on video surveillance doing this, she also recorded footage herself of the crime on her cell phone.
If you cannot afford a lawyer
For what? Wait.
or breaking the window with
I
a
didn't
brick,
break the window.
we'll speak
I
about
did
that
not
now.
break the window.
Do you want to speak?
Making things even stranger, the item in question that Coyne allegedly hurled through the window was a brick that was a commemorative token of her and her ex-husband's first date. The brick reportedly had the date from 2020 printed on it, as well as the fact that they were jet skiing. Coyne's repeated denials about launching the brick were also captured on body cam footage, as was her arrest. She is now facing charges of criminal mischief and throwing a deadly missile into an occupied dwelling.
Throwing a missile? That woman's retarded. That woman got something wrong with her. Like, not only did you get caught on camera, you recorded it, and you threw something that can be traced back to you. Those people are stupid.
The residents of a northern Indiana city have been left shocked and in mourning this week after a devastating act of violence at a local supermarket ended with 3 people dead and 2 police officers wounded. The situation began shortly after 5 p.m. when a man, later identified as 54-year-old Juan Sanchez, walked into the Martin's supermarket on East Jackson Boulevard. After entering the store, police say that Sanchez spent approximately 20 minutes walking around. He filled up a cart with beer and wine, but authorities claim that's not the real reason he was there. He reportedly spent most of his time looking at young women and was specifically searching for someone to victimize. Sanchez decided to make his move when he took his cart full of alcohol to the self-checkout area. As the 19-year-old attendant there, Annie Rocha, checked his ID, he waited for her to walk back from a nearby register. That's when he allegedly pulled out a gun, grabbed Annie by the wrist, and tried to force her towards the store's exit. Another customer noticed what was going on and alerted a manager who attempted to confront Sanchez. The 54-year-old replied, quote, "She needs to listen to me or I will kill her." Using the confrontation as an opportunity, Annie tried to take a few steps back. However, Sanchez delivered on his chilling threat, shooting and killing her almost instantly. As terrified shoppers and employees ran for the exit, Sanchez allegedly fired more shots towards the doors. One of those rounds struck and killed a 49-year-old man named Benjamin Jeffrey, who had been grocery grocery shopping with his wife. Following the two murders, Sanchez grabbed his cart full of alcohol and fled the scene on foot, though apparently not before stopping to fire more rounds into Annie's lifeless body. Sanchez got into a shootout with two police officers a short distance away, injuring both of them before they returned fire and he was killed as well. Thankfully, both officers are expected to survive, and one has since been released from the hospital. As for what prompted the deadly incident, authorities say that's still under investigation, though, as previously mentioned, it's believed that Sanchez had an unhealthy interest in young women. In a statement following the tragedy, a spokesperson for the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office said in part, quote, "What we know at this point is that Sanchez was drawn to significantly younger females and had recently had some changes in his personal life that eroded whatever prior self-regulation he may have had. Other reports of suspicious behavior involving young females have been reported since Monday. In each case, the young lady avoided further contact with Sanchez. One reported that she had obtained a protective order in Illinois to cease contact approximately 2 to 3 years ago. Although a police report was made, no further documentation has been found demonstrating additional formal action." Before we wrap up, we'd like to take...
Nah, people are crazy. No, all these stories are absolutely like crazy, bruh. Shooting and killing a girl? How unhinged and dangerous does someone need to be at all to brutally murder someone over a thermostat? That's insane. And really sad that victim lost his life over that. Like, nah, these people gotta be like all these people got something wrong with their brain. Especially Brick Lady over here. Brick Lady over here crazy. Well, I don't think she's crazy. I think she's just stupid and just did not care.
You got my heart for me, and there's nothing small for me. And you know I play for keeps. I'm the type to take your heart and lock it up and lost the key. So I need your love. I'm expecting that call from you. I done spent around the